My ex, the latest one I've had, meant the absolute most to me, and I never realized it until after we'd broken up. Now, we only dated for 3.5 weeks because around that time he decided he wanted to say, "I love you," and I didn't know how to respond. And I kind of freaked out, and I was like, oh God, I can't do this. And I kind of, found a way to get out of the relationship, and we broke up. Now, this time we were sharing a locker, and I also had his jacket and all his things, and I didn't know what to do because I was so afraid to go to our locker and see him every day. But at the same time, I couldn't imagine not seeing him. He drove me to school, and we talked all the time. His sister was my best friend. We had class together. And, I mean, he really made me realize that something's gotta change. I mean, because when we were together, I never really acted like a girlfriend. I was still stuck in that I'm single, I have all guy friends, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and you can deal. And it wasn't fair to him. But I felt what wasn't fair to me is that he didn't communicate any of his problems. If something was wrong, he just, okay, alright. But then later, when we got in an argument, it would just all come out, and then at that point, it was just an explosion and nothing could be done. After we broke up, we went back and forth for 9 months. And usually, when I get out of a relationship, okay, we're done, goodbye. But for some reason, I couldn't get him out of my mind. I thought about him all the time. Heck, we still shared a locker. I still wore his jacket, slept in it, washed it. I mean, it was my jacket at that point. It just had his name on it for show. And I realized that I loved him. And I didn't realize that until it was too late. Until we had finally gotten into the biggest fight, and I thought nothing could ever change it. But even after months of not talking, I decided that I was going to help give him the wood from my backyard for a bonfire. And so when he came over to pick it up, I did something stupid, and I kissed him. And from then on, for the rest of the day, we were together, driving around, collecting wood and talking. And at that point, I thought, it's just because I kissed him. Well, I was being stupid. I was caught up in the moment. But I realized he still cared about me when he told me that he knew what happened when he went on senior trip. And the heartbreak in his eyes when he looked at me and asked why I didn't tell him that I'd been sexually assaulted while he was away, I realized that he still cared about me, and that made my life just feel 10 times more complete. But the big issue that we never really addressed was that he wanted to have sex. He wanted me to take his virginity, and I wasn't ready for that, and I didn't want to. And it caused a fight, and I still don't know why I didn't want to. I really felt like I wasn't ready. But, I mean, my feelings for him were still really serious. And I really think that had the circumstances been different and had I been ready, then that would have never been an issue. And I am not one to cry over a guy. I'm not one to chase a guy. But when we finally got in our last fight, before he went away to college. I sat down and I cried for hours because I couldn't understand why sex was so important to him. And I told him I didn't think that he should give his virginity to a girl who he would, every other day was fighting with. And even though I'm still so angry at what he said to me in that last conversation, I realized that I still love him, and that had it not been for him, I would have never realized how important it was for me to change for the better. I realized that it's okay for me to say no. Even if the guy gets upset, it's okay for me to say no if I don't feel comfortable, if I'm not ready. And I realized that a relationship, when you get in a relationship, something has to change. You have to compromise and meet in the middle. And even though we were technically dating for 3.5 weeks, but the next 9 months felt like an eternity. But I'm not gonna lie, when I was with him, I felt something that I've never felt with any other boyfriend, any other ex. And I really owe that all to him. And if I could talk to him, if I could see him, I would tell him that even though I still can't believe he said those words to me, I thank him for showing me how important it was for me to stand up for myself. And I tell him that I love him no matter what. And that's why I think he's the best ex I've ever had, because he literally changed my life for the better, even if the terms in which it happened were the worst. So I just want to say a big old thank you to SB.